Oh, hey, Happy New Year. How you doing? Glad you could stop by. I was just thinking I would do a 2024 planning video to kind of lay out what I want to do for this year. Got some notes here, and some holiday cheer. So let's just go over what I've got planned on, what I've got planned for 2024. Doing something different this time. I've actually made notes about how I want to talk about this. So, I had a video recently where I talked about my travel plans for the year, and they're pretty extensive, but they all pretty much rely on being able to work from the road. In order to do that, it's going to be I've got two methods. Number one is my AT&T cell phone hotspot, which has worked very well for me in the past. But the other one is for the more remote areas is Starlink. Some people have had issues with Starlink, mostly out in the Southwest and the Southern U.S., but Starlink's putting up 23 new satellites every week, sometimes twice a week. And hopefully that coverage is going to continue to improve. The reason I want to do all this is because I've got some extensive plans. I may have talked about, I know I've talked about what I'd like to do. The original plan was to move on down to Wapakoneta in on April 8th for the total solar eclipse, because they're planning some festivities down there at the Armstrong Air and Space Museum. If you don't know about Wapakoneta and the Armstrong Air and Space Museum, I suggest you look it up on the internet. Won't be hard to find. Maybe I'll throw a link down in the description. I don't know. But that's really just one day, and I'm looking forward to that because you don't see an eclipse every day. It's something new. Having said that, that's just the beginning of the journey. There's a long list of things I need to do before April 8th. I have the batteries in, the power system works, the refrigerator works. I don't have any cabinets in yet, which really that's a couple of hours work if I buckle down and do it. I need to get the solar panels up on the roof. I already own the solar panels. I just haven't mounted them yet because I've been worried. My big concern is that, they'll come off at highway speeds and hurt somebody or damage someone's car, and I don't want that. But the objective is to get this done well before April. Because that'll enable me to do long-term off-grid type camping. There is an option here over and above Wapakoneta. So it turns out that the path of totality is what we're looking for this eclipse. Runs across the U.S. from the southwest all the way up to the northeast in the Ohio area, but nowhere near Michigan. So if I want to see it, I'm going to have to go someplace. And it turns out that one of the YouTubers I follow, Matt Carricker, is starting up a resort in Texas so that he wants to have RV space available for the total solar eclipse on April 8th. So there's a possibility that I might make that my first stop. Which doesn't change my overall goals, because I still want to hit Key West and then Orlando and then various points along the route back to Wapakoneta and Gatlinburg. I really want to go back to Gatlinburg, and let me tell you why. Back in 2018, I took my first trip to Gatlinburg. Up until that point, I had maybe been down to Kentucky or Tennessee once when I was a child, and been out to Toronto with my mother a couple of times because she loved Toronto. Don't know why, but anyway, it doesn't matter. But I went to Gatlinburg, and I had a really good time. It's where I discovered that I liked to visit these. Oops. Visit these little tourist trap kind of towns where there's a bunch of little souvenir shops and tchotchkes and other stuff. And I really enjoyed myself. Not just the shopping, but the people watching. But you also get a feeling of the attitude of what makes the place unique. And that was reinforced when I went out to Keystone, South Dakota in 2021, actually. And my trip out there was primarily to see Mount Rushmore and the Crazy Horse Memorial. But I learned that South Dakota has so much more to offer. Just on the trip out there, I started running across things like the city of Wall, which is just, again, an expansion, a mutation of a small drugstore that expanded and bought an entire street. And then other businesses grew up around that, which was just fantastic to see and fantastic to experience. I went to the Minuteman the Minuteman Monument Memorial, which is a sort of a museum of the Cold War. To be honest, it showed all of the events surrounding the development of the Minuteman missile concept, and how the Cold War laid out and how close we came on several occasions to losing it all. Also in South Dakota, I drove up the Needles Highway partway, which is a fantastic drive. It's very scenic. And I went out to Sturgis, South Dakota, which you may know from the annual Sturgis Bike Rally. I was there a couple of weeks early, so I didn't see the rally itself, but the town itself is really cool. And I really had a good time. A lot of open air shops and some of the most amazing bars I've ever seen. Literally bars that are set up just to have a great big freaking party. Right across the street from each other. All foot traffic. It's amazing. I followed that up from 2021 to 2022. I went to Orlando to see the Kennedy Space Center. And I spent 2 days there because one day wasn't enough. And I still haven't seen everything I wanted to see there. But at the end of the first day, I realized I hadn't seen the Saturn V complex, which is a whole other section, and truly an amazing testament to the engineering feat that the Apollo program really was. I can't recommend it enough. So much I bought an annual pass, but unfortunately I wasn't able to use it a second time. So we'll go there. But I'd like to make it back there, regardless. I figured since I was in Florida, I would just take a quick trip down to Key West because, hey, it's still in Florida, right? Not realizing that trip was 6 hours. So I ended up getting a campsite in Key West, actually on Stock Island at Boyd's Key West Camping. And I was only there a day and a half. And it wasn't enough. It was fantastic. This is one of those really interesting situations where I left Orlando listening to weather reports talking about flooding in Miami from a storm the night before. By the time I got to Miami, the water had all drained away. So I continued onto the causeway. Got onto the causeway, and I ran into the tail end of that storm. And for a good portion of the drive, I could not see the taillights of the car in front of me. So I was kind of white knuckling it, knowing that at any point there might be an ocean on either side of the bridge. But hey, I kept going. And by the time I got to Key West, the storm had passed, the rain had started to run off, and it was a beautiful, beautiful day. Spent 2 days, well, a day and a half in Key West riding around on a rented scooter, and I can't recommend it enough. I didn't spend enough time there. There were things that I wanted to see that I didn't get to. So I kind of want to go back. Whether that's going from Wapakoneta to Gatlinburg to Orlando to Key West and then over to Starbase in Texas, because come on, that's where things are happening. Or going directly down to Desperado Ranch, visiting Starbase, and then working my way back through Key West. Hey, just occurred to me, you know what's between Starbase and Key West? New Orleans. It's always someplace I wanted to visit. Anyway, there are a lot of opportunities here, and it just depends on me getting everything organized in the truck so that I can work from the vehicle, because I'm one of those people that's lucky enough to have a job that can be done remotely and an employer that's generous enough to let me do that. So I need power. I need solar power. The battery system is in place. The batteries themselves will go a day and a half to 2 days without any additional assistance, especially in warm weather, because I don't have to run the heater. The solar panels should extend that, hopefully indefinitely, because unfortunately I can't charge from my truck because it's a 24 volt system and I've got a 12 volt alternator. But I may be looking into that in the next couple of weeks. I need to get plumbing in place so that I can actually do things like store water on board and store wastewater, like from doing dishes and stuff like that. I have a cassette toilet that I can use on board, but I also want to put in a shower for, let's be honest, gotta clean up once in a while, right? But I don't have that in place yet, so there are still some holes that need to be drilled in the van. I'd like to get that done sooner rather than later. Speaking of holes in the floor, I need to put flooring in. So that's another option. Would have been easier if I had put the flooring in first and then started drilling holes, but to be honest, I really wanted to get the truck to the point where I could go camping, and I had a couple of really successful camping trips last year, so I'm very happy about that. So yeah, I mean, that's the plans. I mean, the plans are still, they're not firm. They're not locked in yet, because I still need to know how I want to roll this. And there are things that I need to do between now and April 8th. So it's kind of a matter of what I can get done. I can get to Wapakoneta in about 3 hours. Less really. Which gives me extra time. Getting to the Desperado Ranch will take me about a week if I work the entire time. So that's something that you have to keep in mind, and I'm still working all the variables on that. I haven't got it narrowed down yet. But that's my plan, you know, and I appreciate everyone that's been following along. I know some of you personally. I'm pretty sure that some of you I have never met before. Don't have a lot of followers on the channel yet, which is fine. I'm not doing this for the followers. I'm doing this to record what I'm doing, because what I'm doing is something I want to remember. I did not do a lot of traveling, and there's so much of this country that I want to see, and I'm not going to wait until I'm too old to enjoy it. So thanks for coming along. Happy New Year. Here's the plan for 2024. Let's see what happens. Goodbye.